I have been thinking a lot about mods lately, and the thing that brought it up was some news recently that Witcher 3, the new free update they did, the next-gen update to Witcher 3, contained a bunch of not safe for work mods and textures that mod makers had created, and they weren't supposed to be in the final game according to CD Projekt Red. I'm not sure they've sufficiently explained how they got in there, but it brought up a broader conversation about mods in general, and while they were going to be removing those, it brought up this question about whether or not mod makers and their work should be more independently recognized rather than just a thing you make for a game and then the game maker themselves can take that stuff or leave that stuff or disable that stuff or make it so your stuff never gets seen again. A good example for this might be World of Warcraft. You've been able to make mods and add-ons for World of Warcraft for decades now. And a lot of community-based mods ended up making their way into the game itself, the game proper. And those mods don't get paid for that. They don't get compensated for it no longer being a thing they can just make for free. Instead, now it's just in the game. And Blizzard is under no compulsion to give them any kind of direct credit or anything regarding their contribution to said mod. And the reason they're not bound to do that is simply in the EULA none of us read, right? The end user license agreements are huge and unwieldy and no fun to read, but when you read them, you'll find little details like if you make stuff for this game because we've made it open on the back end, that's ours, or it's not really yours, or we can terminate it at any time, or we can take your ideas and integrate it into our stuff. There have been lawsuits over the years, some more high profile than others, that have tried to sort of take the industry to task and say, well, look, we're doing a lot of good work and your game in some ways are succeeding on the backs of our hard work, especially in the PC community, to make games seem like they've got longer tails. A good example would be Skyrim, for example, modded to death and back to look like an amazing modern era game, even though the thing is 12 years old, 13 years old. And all the talk about that stuff brought me back to the early days of Doom and Quake for me, when modding and making maps and making WAD files was all the rage. And me and my friends that's all we were doing. We just couldn't wait to make that stuff. And that extended well into the Unreal Tournament era of modding and map making. And I'll never forget, in Doom's case, we were playing a lot of after work, after hours Doom deathmatch at the office. And we thought it would be fun if our deathmatch map looked like our office building. So we built the bathrooms and the toilets and the conference rooms and the place where everybody hung out and ate for their breaks and all that. I guess they call that a break room. Anyway, all of that sort of stuff was included in that. And it was some of my most memorable, most fun times in gaming. And to just sort of sum all of this up, I hope that I think modding is on a bit of a rebound. I think there was a period there where we finally got to a place where technologies were in place virtually, mostly as online safety measures, where the companies no longer had to make their games as hackable as they had been previously, or some would use the term more moddable. And when that happened, you saw games that just straight up stopped letting you mod the game. And I think that was a dark time in gaming history. We've now come back around, especially on the PC side, but even in some console ways, where modding is encouraged again, or at the very least is implicitly built into the game so that there's a lot of creativity on the player side after they've done kind of the core parts of the game. They've run the campaign, they've done the multiplayer, what's left? Well, why don't we make some mods, right? I love that. I love that, the culture of that. And I hope it never ends, and I hope gaming companies embrace it more than they have in the past, and that continues to be, a throwback for us, that we keep going in that direction. That would be great. But just know, you should probably read that end user license agreement, because chances are they could pull your stuff, chuck your stuff, destroy your stuff, or even co-opt your stuff without you having any say. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.